In South America, a silent mass extinction is unfolding. Fishermen cast their nets, hoping to bring up the rich diversity that once filled the tropical rivers. But what they pull out now is only a single species, a fish that came from another continent more than 8,000 kilometers away. 80% of the native fish populations in these waters have completely disappeared. There are no floating bodies, no signs of disease. The culprit behind this tragedy is not some gigantic sea monster, but a creature that appears every day on the dinner tables of millions of families around the world: tilapia. You are about to witness a shocking story about how humanity tried to solve hunger, but in the end accidentally unleashed an ecological machine with terrifying destructive power. If you love documentaries that reveal the truth about the natural world, hit the subscribe button right now. And now, let's travel back in time to the place where this survival machine first took shape. Thousands of years ago, in the vast Rift Valley of East Africa, nature created a creature with extraordinary resilience. Tilapia was not born in a friendly environment. It evolved under the blazing desert sun, where freshwater lakes kept shrinking, evaporating, and drying up again and again. In order to survive, this fish developed genes that go far beyond normal biological limits. Modern scientific studies show that tilapia can survive in water with oxygen concentrations as low as 0.3 milligrams per liter, a level that would suffocate and kill 99% of other commercial fish species. It can also tolerate extreme temperature ranges, living well in waters as cold as 8 degrees Celsius and in pools as hot as 42 degrees Celsius. The harsher the environment becomes, the more powerfully its survival instinct awakens. But the greatest biological advantage of this species lies in its reproductive strategy. Most fish lay their eggs into the environment and leave nature to decide their fate. Tilapia is completely different. It has a behavior known as mouth brooding, which means incubating its eggs inside the mouth. When danger appears, the mother sucks all the eggs and baby fish into her mouth to protect them. The survival rate of the next generation comes close to absolute. Every cycle of 3 to 4 weeks, a single female can produce hundreds of new individuals. That toughness turned it into a masterpiece of evolution. But how did a small creature from Africa cross the ocean and come to dominate the largest country in South America? The answer lies in a multi-billion-dollar economic gamble made by humans. In 1950, the first tilapia were brought to Brazil. At first, their role was very modest, cleaning algae and controlling insects in industrial water reservoirs. But before long, humanity realized it was holding a biological gold mine. In the 1970s, northeastern Brazil was hit by historic droughts and inland fishing collapsed. Standing at the edge of famine, the authorities made a turning point decision: release tilapia into massive reservoirs. The goal was crystal clear: create a cheap source of protein, fast-growing, and easy to raise without complicated farming techniques. From an economic point of view, it was a brilliant decision. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, or FAO, even called tilapia the aquatic chicken because of how perfectly it fit industrial production. Through a breeding program called GIFT, which stands for Genetically Improved Farm Tilapia, promoted on a global scale, scientists created super strains that grow 85% faster than their wild ancestors. In agriculture, specialists use an indicator called FCR, or feed conversion ratio. If it takes a large amount of feed to produce 1 kilogram of beef or pork, tilapia needs only about 1.5 kilograms of cheap plant-based feed to produce 1 kilogram of high-quality fish meat. It eats almost everything, can digest agricultural byproducts, and grows at an outstanding speed. Today, Brazil has become the 4th largest tilapia producer in the world, with an output of more than 860,000 tons per year. This industry has created an enormous value chain, turning Brazil into a leading export hub, with the United States market alone consuming products worth tens of millions of dollars every year. At present, the global tilapia market is valued at more than $8 billion and contributes to a total production of more than 6 million tons of tilapia harvested every year worldwide. But every massive profit comes with an enormous price. While humanity focused only on production from floating cages, it had no idea that the rivers outside were sliding into a severe process of decline. The brutal truth slowly began to emerge. Pause for a second. When was the last time you ate tilapia? Leave it in the comments. There is a good chance that this familiar dish is part of the multi-billion-dollar industry that is seriously degrading natural ecosystems. You cannot keep a species born to survive locked up forever. Through floods, storms that overflow reservoir banks, and torn cage nets, tilapia carried out the biggest uncontrolled migration in the aquatic history of South America. From fish ponds, they moved straight into natural river and lake systems, and there, their superior biological traits turned into a major ecological threat. Tilapia behaves like a vacuum cleaner on the riverbed. It eats everything: zooplankton, algae, aquatic plants, and especially the eggs of other fish species. On top of that, male tilapia have a habit of digging large pits in the muddy bottom to build breeding nests. That behavior destroys bottom vegetation, disturbs sediment, and completely takes away the living space of many other aquatic species. The result is an ecological catastrophe. Studies indicate that in many large reservoirs, tilapia now makes up more than 80% of the total biomass. Valuable native species that have existed for millions of years, such as curimata and traíra, are slowly disappearing. There are no direct battles. Native species are simply drained to the point of collapse because they run out of food in their own homeland. They just cannot compete with the reproductive speed and feeding rate of this invasive species. An even more frightening phenomenon called hybrid vigor is now taking place. Industrial tilapia that escaped into the wild have interbred with wild tilapia lines that already existed. The natural food web is being strangled from the bottom all the way to the top. On top of that, the excessive density of farming in open systems has triggered a process known as eutrophication. Fish waste and leftover feed, dumped directly into nature, carry huge concentrations of nitrogen and phosphorus. River water turns into a thick green mass because of toxic algae blooms. And when those algae die, the decomposition process strips oxygen from the water, creating dead zones in the middle of the continent where no native fish species can survive. If this disaster were limited to freshwater rivers alone, it would still be only a regional problem. But recently, the scientific community discovered something even more shocking. This creature has now broken through the last natural barrier. It is moving into the sea. Biology textbooks have always drawn a clear line. Freshwater fish live in rivers, saltwater fish live in the ocean. If they enter the opposite environment, their cells either burst or shrink because of osmotic shock. But tilapia has completely broken that rule. Thanks to a special gill structure and an almost perfect osmotic pressure regulation mechanism, tilapia has an extreme tolerance for salt. Huge schools of fish began drifting downstream and started appearing in estuaries, mangroves, and along the Atlantic coast. In Brazil, from the coast of Maranhão to Rio de Janeiro, people were stunned when they cast their nets at sea and pulled up what was supposed to be a freshwater pond fish. It can tolerate salinity of up to 35 parts per thousand, the equivalent of pure seawater. This is a red level alarm. Mangroves and estuaries are not just calm waters, they are the nurseries of the ocean. Thousands of species of shrimp, crabs, and marine fish depend on these brackish waters to reproduce and raise their young. The appearance of tilapia in these places means it is consuming the eggs and young of marine species. The entire structure of the coastal food web is under serious threat. And this disaster is not limited to South America. If we look at Lake Nicaragua, the largest freshwater lake in Central America, the invasion of tilapia has severely reduced native emperor fish populations and destroyed the traditional fishing economy. In the state of Queensland, Australia, tilapia is listed as an extremely dangerous pest species. Possessing it or transporting it, whether alive or dead, is considered a serious violation of the law. The Australian government has even been forced to use rotenone directly, an extremely powerful biological toxin, in invaded rivers to wipe it out, because normal fishing methods are completely useless against the reproductive speed of this species. In the southern United States, especially in Florida, tilapia already dominates inland waterways. This ecological crisis has now spread across the entire planet. So what can humanity do to fix this mistake? Science is racing against time. If this shocking information has just completely changed the way you see the natural world, hit like on the video and subscribe to the channel. That is the only way you can help make sure this truth is not buried by the YouTube algorithm. Completely eradicating tilapia is impossible, and it would not be a smart solution anyway. The world is moving closer to a population of 9 billion people, and we need an ideal source of protein with low carbon emissions to replace polluting livestock farming. Tilapia is not the root cause. It is only doing exactly what its survival instinct tells it to do. The real responsibility lies in how humanity manages it. Science and technology have already entered this fight with revolutionary solutions. The first solution is sterility biotechnology. Beyond traditional breeding methods, scientists are now applying CRISPR gene editing technology to create all-male superstrains of tilapia, or fish carrying triploid chromosomes. Biologically speaking, these individuals are completely incapable of reproducing. If they accidentally escape into the natural environment, they can only survive until the end of their life cycle without producing a next generation. This is the core technological solution for stopping the expansion of invasive populations. The second solution is shifting toward closed-loop RAS systems and biofloc technology. Instead of continuing to raise fish in floating cages on natural rivers with countless ecological risks, the most advanced countries are now moving toward land-based aquaculture complexes. These systems reuse up to 99% of the water. Beneficial microorganisms break down waste and turn it into a protein-rich food source for the fish. As a result, the natural environment is fully protected from outside impacts. At the same time, artificial intelligence technology and underwater sensor systems are being integrated to automatically control oxygen levels and precisely calculate the amount of feed needed, almost completely eliminating the risk of water pollution. The only real challenge is cost. Modernizing these systems requires enormous investment, and not every farmer can afford it. But if we do not invest today, the price of collapsing natural ecosystems in the future will be tens of thousands of times greater. When we look back at the whole historical process, the spread of tilapia clearly reflects humanity's strategy for economic development. We crossed natural geographic boundaries and distributed a creature native to Africa all over the world in order to solve the problem of food security. But nature always operates under strict laws of balance. The 80% reduction in native species populations is clear evidence of that. Any uncontrolled intervention in the natural food chain can trigger consequences that are extremely difficult to reverse. On one hand, this species provides an essential, low-cost source of protein for billions of people. On the other hand, it is quietly creating enormous survival pressure on many other ecosystems. The line between an efficient food solution and an ecological crisis is now thinner than ever. What is your view on this double-sided dilemma? Should we continue maintaining the current model, or is it time to enforce stricter biosecurity standards? Share your opinion in the comment section. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you can keep following our upcoming science documentaries. Thank you for being here with us. Click on the screen to keep exploring the next topic.